Hello everyone, I am Dead Knight and this is In It to Win It. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and leave respectful comments in all my videos, especially this one. I am very excited to be coming out in the August 2021 season with a video about my day one legend run with not an 11-star run. This is a 10-star day one legend. And of all decks I did it with, it was Reno Priest. So this deck is one of the oldest decks around in Wild right now. It's been around forever, ever since Shadowreaper Anduin came out, allowing you to deal 2 damage to your opponent every time you refresh your hero power, along with Raza, the Chained, that lets you reduce the cost of your hero power to 0 if you have no duplicates in your deck. This deck, like I said, it's been around for years, maybe like 4 or 5 years now. But I think it's never been better than it is right now, thanks to a lot of new cards that just came out, which I'll get into in just a minute. So before I started playing Reno yesterday, when I was making the run on day one, I was trying some of my usual type of decks, decks that I've already hit legend with in the past, like Pirate Warrior and Odd Demon Hunter, and I even tried with Kingsbane Rogue, which I've also hit with in the past, and is really popular right now thanks to some of the new weapon synergies that have been printed in the last few months. And I was just hitting a wall. I could not move forward. I was even with my star bonus, I was sitting around gold and platinum for a while, just taking losses like crazy. And then I finally decided, you know what? I haven't played Shadow Priest in years. I've never hit legend with it, but I feel like this is the right time, and it was. So what makes this the right time for this deck, even after all these years? So firstly, not a lot of people seem to agree with this, because I did not see a single Shadow Priest all day on my way up to legend. So I did see one Resurrection Priest, but no Reno Priests. And I don't get it. I think it's better than ever right now, like I said. So the things that make it better than ever are the transformation of Priest from having no card draw and difficult keeping control of the game early, to having tons of card draw and lots of control early in the game. So the meta is super fast right now. Some games, most decks are trying to end the game before turn 6, so that you can't even get Reno off. But Priest, firstly, has a lot of early game survival tools that I urge you to make sure you find room for if you play this deck. So lots of lifesteal spells that control the board. Your key one here, of course, is Penance. That is going to let you take out a solid or early 1 or 2 drop and gain some life back. So because you have Penance, you can be a little bit patient. You don't have to play it right away. You can grow your board with some of this new card draw, which I'll get to in a sec, and then get a Penance off to get the full value of that card. The other one, which I really like, is Devouring Plague. So this is 3 mana lifesteal, deals 4 damage, but it's split randomly among enemy minions. So this lets you stop decks like Odd Paladin they're spreading the board a little bit. It's also just one other option that a lot of people aren't trying to play around. Everyone plays around Penance, so they might try to use a beaming sidekick to buff one of their minions to 4 health, and then you can hit it with Devouring Plague if the sidekick's gone, or you can do a minion trade and then Devouring Plague. A lot of great options here to get your health back and clear the board. But most importantly is Spirit Lash. So Spirit Lash is great because if you get spell damage out with, say, Bloodmage Thalnos, who's an absolute G in this deck, not just for the card drawing, but that extra spell damage and Spirit Lash, you can get yourself a full board clear and a heal on turn 4, which is huge in a lot of cases. People are trying to rush the board before Reno comes out, and then you can really turn the tables on them with Spirit Lash, especially with Bloodmage Thalnos. So those are your 3 lifesteal board control spells. But then let's talk about the card draw that has come out in the last couple months. So I'm making use of Cleric of An'she, which was just printed a couple weeks ago in Wailing Caverns, and then We also have Insight, which 2 mana draws you a minion, and if it's corrupted, which it usually is, then that minion is going to cost 2 less. We've got Thrive in the Shadows, which is going to discover a spell from your deck to draw. And then we also have, so that's 3 new cheap quality card draws for Priest that they didn't have before. I mean, remember, Priest used to play this deck with Novice Engineer. I mean, if you're running Novice Engineer, you are really desperate for card draw. So we also have Talon Fordring, which the way I built this deck guarantees you draw Reno. So turn 5, you can play Talon, and if they have to bowl through it, then you can, and you live, you get a full heal. So that is awesome card draw. Then we also have Priest's typical really annoying discover tools like palm reading, which is a must-have in almost every Priest deck. And then you have Renew, which even after being nerfed is still just a huge card, especially when you're playing Highlander. You really want those discovers to help you make up for the fact that you only get 1 copy of every card, and then maybe sometimes pull a card that you really need and isn't in your deck. So what this comes down to is now I've got 20 cards in this deck that cost 3 mana or less. So we get a lot of plays. We're not typically sitting with cards in our hand that we can't use, even though we're playing only 1 copy of each. And because of all the cheap card draw, the cheap cards that are healing while clearing the board, this actually really efficient. It's really consistent. So because the mana curve is generally so low, and you get to draw cards for such a good deal, it's just really consistent. So it's very rarely are you sitting there like, where is this card I need? Obviously, the only exception to that is if you don't draw Shadowreaper, you don't really have an end game. But right now in this meta, the name of the game is surviving. So that's why we've got the curve so low. Don't be seduced by some of these combo-y cards. So, don't run Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, even though you get 0 mana dragons, which is great for that machine gun. You don't need it. Your kill card is definitely just your hero power. So you don't need that top end card. It messes up your Talon Fordring. You don't want Circle of Healing or Regenerate or some of these 0 cost spells that aren't really helping you stay alive. You got to stay alive right now. Super aggressive meta. You'll also notice this list does not have any tech in it at all. So there's no Eater of Secrets, even though Secret Mage is alive and kicking right now. There is no Cobalt Sticky Finger or any weapon removal, which is risky because Rogue is pretty popular right now as well. But if you want to take out Kingsbane, your main card for that is going to be Mindrender Elucia. So this card is, you want to be very careful when you play this guy, because if you lose, Shadowreaper or Raza, you're going to have a very hard time closing out games. But Mindrender Elucia is pretty much the only thing I would consider tech. It works against just about every deck. And, for Kingsbane, you want to wait till Kingsbane gets destroyed, and then they either play one of their cards to go fetch it and don't cast Kingsbane, or they go super aggressive to buff up Kingsbane and then let it die. So usually if they do this, they have that Cavern Shiny Finder sitting in their hand just ready to use for this. So if they do, you Mindrender Elucia, you play their Cavern Shiny Finder, you play their Kingsbane, and you win the game. So it's a little risky and it's a little situational, but that's what you do to beat Kingsbane. Some other popular decks right now, there's many different forms of Warlock. You just got to make sure that you want to mulligan for those early game cards, and no matter what Warlock you're playing against. Definitely you're going to want Zephrys in almost every matchup in the early mulligan. Hard mulligan for survival in most cases, except Rogue, and you're hard mulliganing for Mindrender. But mostly you just need to stay alive. Any of those early games, you need those lifesteal spells. And, it's up to you if you want to put tech in here. I don't even know what I want to take out because all these cards make this deck, really consistent and getting the cards you need every time. Um, the only other thing I will mention is there's a lot of different shamans out there. Um, if you're playing against Murloc Shaman, that Zephyrus into that Hungry Crab, that's good game right there. Especially if you have a Raised Dead to pull both of them back at some point. There's really no way to recover. So be aware of your matchup. A lot of these matchups are everything they got comes out in the first 5 turns. And if you survive that initial onslaught, you win. So don't be afraid to use those early game cards. You don't need to worry about keeping cards in your hand for Shadowreaper in almost all matchups. If you're playing against another Reno deck, then you're going to want to hold off on playing some of those early game cards because you're not in danger of dying, and you're going to need those machine gun ammo later. Otherwise, stay alive. I like Zyrella in this deck. She's really good at helping you stay alive. Getting one of your healing spells out, and then playing Zyrella often clears the game. And late in the game, you've also got Reno for 6 mana, and then Zyrella for 4 mana for a 10 mana full board clear unit dealing 18, 22 damage to the whole board. It's just bonkers. Nobody sees it coming. It's great. Otherwise, most people have seen all the cards in this deck. They've seen the way this deck works. And it works even better now because of all these new cheap card draws and cheap lifesteal board controls. It's just such a great deck. Better now than ever, and I really encourage you to dust it off, try it again. Like I said, it worked for me. Day 1 Legend with 10 bonus stars. First time I've ever hit Legend on day 1, and I'm so excited. Now I've got all season to work on Standard and play around with some of these fun decks with the new set coming out, and couldn't be happier. So let me know what you think about this current version of Reno Priest. How has Reno Priest worked for you in the past? What do you think about using it now in the future? What are you playing in Wild right now? Leave some respectful comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and tune in next time.